you know it's time. IAfootball is back, and we've got you covered with everything from the biggest hits to the biggest runs, from in-game highlights to post-game breakdowns.
We are here talking any and all high school football.
From day one all the way to the dome, we've got you covered at IAfootball.
What's up, everybody? Locks and Dogs are back. We had an issue last week where we were picking up double on the audio. We should be good now because I do have headphones in. But we are joined by Nicholas Fox. Nick, week 2 of Locks and Dogs is already here. How are we feeling? Are we ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. A little disappointed that I missed 2 locks last week, but I do have the lead right now, so can't be too upset.
We will get into that very shortly, so don't you worry. But coming tomorrow, or today, I did it again. This is supposed to say coming today because we're recording this on Wednesday night. But coming today on Rockfin is our Rankers picks. Again, we're only picking a few games in each class, but we'll see how the Rankers did last week. Again, if you want to see exactly who our Rankers picked last week, that is free on Rockfin. Rockfin.com/IAfootball will show you all the Rankers picks from last week and whether they got them correct or not. I'll say 5A is definitely the toughest just because the disparity is so low between everybody. So obviously going sub 500 in class 5A, I know our 5A ranker wasn't too pleased with himself, but everyone else did pretty solid. And you're wondering why there's so many picks. It is because each ranker is picking the game in their class. So if a 2A versus 3A game is happening, the 2A ranker is picking it, and so is the 3A ranker. So if you're playing a cross-class game, you're getting multiple opinions on Rockfin. So that's some great content we have over there. 170 and 70 last week for our Rockfin rankers picking their high school football games. And then Locks and Dogs last week. Let's run through that quick. Nick and I both missed locks, and if you're new to Locks and Dogs, that is rare. And missing two locks in a week. Sorry, I think I misspoke there. Missing 2 locks in a week. Nick, I kind of am going through last week. I don't think that happened last year at all, the entire year.
Wow.
Thoughts? Comments?
It was week 1. That's my thoughts and comments.
Yeah.
I think Crestwood over MFL Marmac was, that was a great upset by Crestwood. All the credit to them there.
Yeah.
And I was on the Norwalk Height train too, and I think they'll still be a good team this year, but those are my thoughts.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Not a bad week. I looked last year in week 1, we each scored 13 points. This week we go 10 and 11. So maybe we're just getting worse. But no, it was a ton of fun. Obviously, I totally missed on Boyer Valley. I had them way underrated. But that's what's fun about these early weeks is you figure out very quickly who's correct. I was wrong about Glenwood. I was wrong about Johnson. I was wrong about Trainer. I was very wrong about PCM. I think they looked really good in their debut. They beat up on Sigourney Kyoto. So, I'll own up to it. I was wrong on a lot, but we're excited to get into this week, and that is exactly what we are going to do. Our 5A locks and dogs are right here. I'm starting with a lock, and I'm going with an unranked team as my lock, Nick. I don't think we do that a ton, but I'm doing that this week in DCG. I'm a huge fan. Last week, they picked up their first Class 5A win. Chase Heitland, if you don't know this name, the dude's an X factor. He had a punt return touchdown last week. Track speed. They got athletes there. And then Atumwa's, they're coming off a 7-0 win over Oskaloosa. That's who plays DCG. So it won't be easy, but I do like DCG. And my dog, we are going to have a photographer there, Kyler Knack will be there, so if you see him, say what's up. I'm going with Cedar Falls over Pleasant Valley. Cedar Falls lost last week. Obviously, Pleasant Valley, won on Saturday. But Cedar Falls gave Liberty everything they could handle. Nick was there. Josh Greedy had 2 picks in that game. I don't like going against PV because I like Lincoln Dalton at quarterback. I think he's an extraordinary athlete. But I'm going with some home field advantage here, and I think Cedar Falls gets back on the right track, Nick. And I'm picking these guys as my Class 5A dog for the week.
Yeah, I like the Cedar Falls pick. Like you said, I was just there watching them against Liberty. Defense looked really good. I mean, Liberty lost some good pieces from their offense last year. I think we're still expecting them to be a pretty good offensive team, and they held them to just 15, and they scored those last 8 in the last minute and a half of the game. So yeah, I think Cedar Falls is a great pick. I think they're a great team this year. My lock for this week, I'm going with Iowa City West. Kind of a team we were expecting them to be, like a top 16 team, but I thought they had a really impressive week 1 win against their crosstown rival, Iowa City High. 130-0. They're playing Dubuque Hempstead this week, who took the loss to Cedar Rapids Kennedy 42-20. Campbell Janis, 111 yards and a touchdown for him in the win. And then Julian Manson, Iowa commit, he had 5.5 tackles in that win. West has won 6 of their last 7. Numbers are pointing towards Iowa City West. I think they're definitely a team that's trending up. And don't. I knew it when I wrote that down, dude.
Carry on. Go ahead.
And my dog for this week, I'm going with Hawkeyes. Hawkeyes taking on Ankeny. Both of these teams, not the way they wanted to start the season. They both took a week 1 loss. Both of them to top 5 teams, so nothing to hang your head there about. Beckett Baker looked good in his season or game 1 of the season. He needs to bring the interceptions down. He had 3 picks, but the game I was just at, Cedar Falls, Iowa City Liberty, Reddig, a guy who was a really good quarterback last year, just like Baker, he also had 3 interceptions in the week 1. So I think some of these veteran quarterbacks just kind of shaking off the rust in this week 1. I think Baker will do that, and I think it will lead to Hawkeyes to a win.
There we go. I had Hawkeyes as a dog last week. Didn't work out. Nick is rolling with him here in week 2. We'll go on to Class 4A. Rolling with Decorah as my lock. We just talked about Crestwood and the upset they pulled in week 1. I'm going against Crestwood here in week 2, hoping they don't burn me again. As I said, Crestwood beat MFL Marmac last week. Decorah dominated walk-on, and Decorah is 20-0 over Crestwood in the bound era. So I'm sticking with the hot hand. Last year it was a 7-point game, so this is a contest that is played pretty close if you look at the bound history, but I am going with Decorah. And then my dog, I love going with Lewis Central if I get them at a spot where I can take them here. Facing off with Sergeant Bluff Luton in a game where both teams lost last week to North Polk and Heelan respectively. So 2 really, really good teams in Class 4A trying to get their first wins of the season. These 2 haven't played since 2020, but Braden Doss as a sophomore, I saw he won bound underclassman of the week. That was very well deserved. 176 yards rushing and a kick return touchdown for the Lewis Central Titan. You could be looking at the next star in Class 4A. Point blank, yeah, he had an incredible week. And then Braxton Blankard is another guy on defense. He was a nominee for our IAfootball Player of the Week. He was big on defense for them. And Sergeant Bluff Luton, if you know what they do, they ran it 42 times last week. They are going to try and dominate on the run game. So that Lewis Central front 7 is going to be very important, and having Paxton right there is going to be nice. So this is going to be a fun game. Lewis Central SBL, it's a dome quality game out the gates in week 2. Both teams looking for their first win. I'm going to roll with the Titans here.
Yeah, so my lock for this week, I'm going with ADM. I kind of view this ADM Ballard game as a little bit of a rivalry game. I went to their ADM, and really good game, really competitive. The student sections get really chippy, so I love that about this game. Hudson Scholl, quarterback, looked really good week 1, 254 total yards and 3 touchdowns for him. And ADM has won 4 straight in this series. And ADM, man, they have just, they're starting to become a powerhouse in 4A. Year after year, even when they've lost some really good players on this offense, they just keep showing up and keep beating teams. So I'm going to stick with the Tigers in week 2. My dog for this week, I'm going North Polk, a team that we kind of shrugged off preseason because they lost so much in that state title team. But how about that week 1 win against Lewis Central, 27-24? They are going up against a trending team in Newton. How about Caden Klein? Some recognition here. Almost 400 passing yards and 5 touchdowns. What a performance there. So I think if North Polk's going to do anything there, they're going to have to shut him down. James Armstrong, their quarterback, 279 yards and 2 touchdowns passing. Really strong start for him. And I'm going to look for North Polk to just keep winning, man. Prove us wrong. Obviously, they're showing that even though they lost a lot from that state championship team, like I said, they're still here to play. I think they'll compete, and I think they'll take a big win against Newton.
Yeah, and I will be there. I'll be in Alaman on Friday night, so I'm super excited to watch those two teams play. I've been to a North Polk home game a few times, and it's a lot of fun, and that's a very high caliber matchup right out of the gates. Love that pick. Class 3A is where we will go next. I'm going with MOC Floyd Valley over Unity Christian. MOC is coming off a very quality win over Central Lyon Georgia Little Rock. I don't want that getting underestimated because that is a really good team they just beat. And they're replacing Blake Albers. Carson Carmichael is filling in. They're also missing Amon Langton, some elite playmaking skills on the outside. So obviously starting 1-0, that's a great start. Dylan Mazdam, 185 yards rushing and a touchdown last week for MOC Floyd Valley. This is a big time rivalry. Them and Unity Christian, they don't like each other. So I'm going to go with the Dutchman to pick up this win here in Class 3A. And then my dog, Des Moines Christian versus Roland Story. The Lions are another trending team on the upside. Beat number 2 in 2A last week, and now here they are back-to-back weeks facing the second-ranked team in that class, this time in Roland Story. And it's extreme balance for Des Moines Christian. Max Town at quarterback, Davis Takim at running back, and Tate Olson at wide receiver. They were excellent last week in that win over Van Meter, but they are facing a very potent Roland Story offense. Colin Willis threw for 338 and 4 touchdowns last week, so it's going to be tough to stop them. And Cody Long also rushed for 150 for the Norsemen. So this could be a high-scoring matchup. I'm excited. I think we're going to have somebody there. I think Nelly's going to be there, so we will have video here. Roland Story has won the last 2 meetings in 2 years, so Des Moines Christian looking to right that ship. They just got into the 3A pool. They are not trying to leave it. They are my 3A dog of the week.
Yeah, I like that Des Moines Christian pick. That was one that I was kind of looking at before going in and making my picks. I mean, what a way to start the season for Des Moines Christian. My lock for this week, I'm going to go with Sioux Center. Kind of an interesting team here. They weren't really on the radar for 3A at all last season. Pretty competitive team the year before, and now it's kind of looking like they might be a competitive team this year again. I thought they played really solid last week against Unity Christian. They're a young quarterback, junior Ezra Hidma, 145 passing yards and 2 touchdowns to start the year. They're playing Sheldon this week. I think Sioux Center might be one of these quiet teams that, I believe they're in one of the tougher districts, if not the toughest district in Class 3A, that District 1. The Season 1, remember the District of Death? That was a fun storyline. We're kind of getting something similar. I saw somebody comment on the rankings that 5 out of the 6 teams in District 1 were ranked in 3A, I'm pretty sure. I think Sioux Center might be the one team that's not. So I'll be looking for Sioux Center to maybe sneak into those rankings, maybe a 2-0 start here. My dog for this week, I'm going to go with Clear Lake. They're taking on Humboldt, really close ranked matchup. I don't have the numbers straight off the top of my head, but I know it's close. Jackson McIntyre, underclassman of the year last year, started the season just as well as I think we all thought he would. 225 yards and 2 touchdowns for him, and a dominant 69-0 win over Forest City. Clear Lake showing that they're still going to be a powerhouse in 3A. They're still going to be a competitor, and this will be a huge game with Humboldt. I think you were at their playoff game last year, and that was a really fun one, I'm sure.
Yeah, kept them from going to the Dome, so there's some intentions there. That's going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, plenty of bulletin board material here for Clear Lake. revenge game. So I'm going to take the Lions to take the win.
And you are correct. I was looking at Sioux Center is the 6th team in that 3A District 1. Heelan, Algona, Humboldt, MOC Floyd Valley, and Webster City, the other 5. Those 5 all being ranked. And Sioux Center, looking at our ultimate rankings, they are just on the outside. So it could be a story if we get 6 teams in one district ranked. That'd be pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Moving on to Class 2A, though, my lock, I'm rolling with Cherokee Washington. Bounce back time for these guys. I think they lost. I'll say it. I think they lost to the best team in Class 2A. I think there's no doubt that Kemper Catholic right now is the standard in this class. But I think Jackson Palshrud is an elite athlete under center. He rushed for 140 last week, scored 3 of the 4 touchdowns for these guys, and he's going to be up there for Mr. IAfootball at the end of this year. They're playing Esterville Lincoln Central, who is coming off a loss to Emmitsburg. So I think Cherokee Washington gets win number 1 for the campaign this week. And my dog, I'm going Wilton over Sigourney Keota. Now, I just went with the Cobras as a dog last week. Now I'm taking my dog to beat them, so that's never fun. But I am going with the Beavers here. Beavers and Cobras, what an incredible mascot matchup we have right here. Both teams 0-1. I watched the Wilton Regina recap that our guy Talon did. If you didn't watch that, it is on YouTube, so you can go watch Wilton and Regina as well as 3 other high school football games. But I really liked how Wilton looked. They were a team with a lot of questions. They were at the Dome last year, lost a lot of their skill guys, lost their quarterback, and they played a really good Regina Catholic team to the wire. They were down 1 at the end of the third quarter, and then Regina put up 21 on them and kind of made it a non-competitive game at the end. But this was a close game. You see 42-20. It was not like that. Gatlin Rogers, Hayden Hill are very tough to start on this Beavers defense, and Sigourney Keota, you know what they run. They're going to run the football, and having those guys in the middle of that defense is going to be quality. The Cobras struggled against what I think is a good PCM team, but they're still going to be really hard to stop. We know what these guys do every single week, and, I mean, one missed assignment, and a guy's going to be gone and running for the end zone. So I am going to go with Wilton here. I think they get win number 1, and I think they kind of start to climb into that conversation as to being a 2A ranked team because I think they are quality enough to be that.
Yeah, absolutely. My lock for this week in Class 2A, I've got Dyke New Hartford taking on Applington Parkersburg. Quick shout out to Applington Parkersburg. They opened the season back-to-back with Grundy Center and Dyke New Hartford, who have been honestly the standard for this class. A couple of state title competitors year in and year out. I mean, there's honestly no tougher way to start the year. But yeah, Dyke New Hartford, they started the season off with a win. Peyton, I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher the last name. Peyton Pokerney went 11 for 12, 131 yards in week 1 with the win. And obviously, Dyke New Hartford football, they love to run the ball. Devlin Davis was leading the way, 25 carries, 130 yards. And I think the Wolverines are going to keep doing that against the Falcons, and they'll take the week 2 win, start at 2-0. My dog for this week, I'm going to go with Alburnett. They're taking on Mid Prairie, who's a tough team. Last week, they beat a ranked 3A team in Washington, and honestly, some almost you want to say blowout fashion with a 50-35 win. Mid Prairie absolutely rolling in that game, but the Pirates, I think they're kind of an underrated team. I think they're ranked. Well, they are ranked. Sorry, I know they're ranked. I think they're pretty close with Mid Prairie when it comes to the rankings. Brody Kastner, 140 yards, 17.5 yards per completion. I really like those numbers. When he's hitting his passes, he's getting really big gains out of those. Rushing attack was kind of slow against Center Point Urbana. However, I like how Alburnett plays. I think they're the excuse me. I think Alburnett's going to go out there. I think this is going to be kind of a chip on their shoulder game, first big test of the season at home, and I think they'll take care of business.
Yeah, 9 versus 8 here is what you got in this.
Okay, yeah,
this
I
Class
knew that
2A
was
class.
close.
Yeah, So moving on to Class 1A, I am rolling with South Hardin. I know South Hardin diehard is going to be watching this, so got to give a shout out to those guys. I love how he shares all the stuff that's South Hardin, so we appreciate that. I think we're known in South Hardin now because of the South Hardin diehard, so we appreciate that. But this team beat a sneaky good West Marshall team. I think West Marshall is no slouch. But with Peyton Welch, Sam Benson, who I'll say is one of the better QB wide receiver duos, not in the class, but in the entire state of Iowa. Those guys are elite. South Hardin's won this matchup between Iowa Falls all in the last 3 years. I'm going to take the Tigers to do it again. And my dog, I'm going with Nick's Ops, Hinton. I'm going with Hinton. And this is a really fun game out in Western Iowa. We're going to have Nate Castillo here taking photos. Hinton and MMCRU, who's a ranked team in Class A, just higher ranked than Hinton, so that's why it's technically a dog. Hinton's going to have a tough time. Eli Harpanaugh, Bryson Mulder are really good for the Royals, but I liked what I saw from Cole Friesen in his first start at quarterback for Hinton. 250 total yards, 4 touchdowns. He's going to run the football a lot. He's an elite athlete under center. Hinton has won the last 4 in this series, and I'm going to take him to do it for a 5th straight time. This one's going to be a lot of fun. When you talk about underrated, there's always so many games that don't get the love they deserve in Iowa each week. I mean, we're trying to bring the love to as many as possible, but this is one that should be marked on more people's calendars than you think. Hinton, MRCRU, really highly ranked team in Class 1A against a really highly ranked team in Class A. That one's going to be a ton of fun. I am going to roll with Hinton, though, as my dog.
If there are Hinton fans watching, I was going to pick that game before Cade.
Yeah, drop a comment. If you're a Hinton fan, we got to see it. Drop some comments down here. I need to see it.
I gotta
every
know,
time,
man.
Every time Nick's backlashing him, there's just no one hating on Nick. Like, I need to see Hinton people in our feed knowing that they're tuning in.
Okay, wasn't there a kid at the Dome when I wasn't there?
Yeah, I know. We might have some youth fans in that Hinton area, but yeah, if you're watching from Hinton, drop a comment. I want to see this just for study purposes.
Yeah. My lock for this week, I'm going to go with Underwood. Underwood shocked me, man. I was a Harlan truther. I still am. I'm not saying I'm not anymore, but I was shocked to see that Underwood beat Harlan, and it was looking like it was going to be a pretty convincing win. Harlan kind of stormed back there at the end. I was following that score, but I mean, Underwood, I think I was kind of underestimating them. They do have an Iowa commit pitcher in Garrett Louette who just went off 284 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. He had 67 yards on the ground. And
what? Oh, I didn't even catch it. I was phasing off. That was all you. Nah, keep talking.
I know. Anyway.
I didn't even pick that up.
Jeez. Dayton Hull was his top receiver. The junior wide receiver had 144 receiving yards and a pair of touchdowns there. Like I said, Underwood, I mean, they outperformed my expectations. They're taking on I-35, who they're historically 2-0 against. So I'll ride with the Eagles to take another win. My dog, I wanted to pick on this game. I love this game year in and year out.
Beef Bowl, baby.
West Lion, yeah. We got West Lion versus Central Lion, George Little Rock. I'm going to go with West Lion here. CLGLR is a great team, and they took a tough loss to MOC Floyd Valley last week. Just a 2-point game. I mean, they were obviously right there. However, I think West Lion is just – I think they're a great team. I think they're top of the class in 1A. I think they would be up there for top of the class if they are still in 2A. Kind of an interesting box score here looking at their rushing. They had it looks like almost a dozen people get carries last week. That's a really interesting sight to see. 175 passing yards, though, for Easton DeYoung, who's slinging it for the Wildcats. 2 touchdowns for him. Kind of just a gut call here with West Lion. Central Lion, George Little Rock kind of dominated there from 21 to 23. 4 years in a row there winning. West Lion taking it last year. And I think they'll take it this year too. So give me West Lion.
Now, Nick, I don't know how number 2 in 1A is a dog against number 7 in 2A, but I guess we're gonna let Nick go with the number 2 team in Class 1A as a dog. I don't know. You guys can drop the comments and let me know if that is technically a dog. I'd say it's a coin flip game, but Nick's making a face at me. What?
Hang
Nick?
on, I gotta look at this because I swear that it wasn't. Like I was trying to make sure that none of my picks were like that this week.
Yeah, West Lion's number 2 in 1A, and Central Lion is number 7 in 2A. So
All right.
realization is hitting Nick. We'll roll with it. Nick's getting some defending state champs as a dog pick, but that's okay. He's gonna need
Okay,
it. He's
dude,
gonna
come
need it in
on.
the end.
I
He's gonna
did
need
not-
it in the end. We're moving on to Class A. My lock, I'm going with ACGC over Southwest Valley. ACGC, yes, I'm biased because I did see them, but they are a matchup nightmare. Ran the ball 9.2 yards per carry last week. Didn't throw it once. Didn't need to. They're big up front. One mistake defensively as far as assignments go, and you're toast. Joe Crawford will make you pay, and it's not just Joe Crawford. There's a bunch of guys, but they were a ton of fun to watch, so I'm going to roll with them as my lock. And my dog, West Sioux versus Sioux Central. This is number 15 versus number 9 in Class A, and I am going to roll with West Sioux. Both teams undefeated here, coming off wins. Blake Wiggins for West Sioux, one of the more experienced quarterbacks in this class. The Falcons coming down from 1A this year. Last week he threw for 146 and 2 touchdowns. Sioux Central didn't throw it once last week. They will be tough to stop. Michael Butner ran all over 143 of the team's 264 yards last week. So Sioux Central going to be ground and pound. West Sioux is a team that can kind of air it out if they need to. Blake Wiggins, he's kind of been there, done that at this point. I feel like I've been seeing his name unbound for a while. So I'm going to go with West Sioux to get a statement win and put themselves in dome contention in Class A. There you go. There's my kind of hot take of the week. There you have it, Nick. Let's see if you can match it.
West Sioux's another one that I was looking at, and I was like face palming by the time I got down to 8, man, because I had gotten like 3 dogs in a row that I was gonna take. But
next week,
right away.
Next week, Nick's gonna get a pick first. We'll even it out. So
Friday
night, it's an
games.
advantage. There's no doubt.
First picks, man.
Yeah,
it's okay. I'm still gonna win this week, I think. So it doesn't matter. My lock for this week, I'm gonna go with South Winneshiek. A team that honestly no hate here. I had never really even heard of before this season. So I'm in the rankings. Hey, come on. I'm being honest here. I'm Central Iowa, dude. I'm not all the way up there. Anyway,
that was funny.
Now I've heard. Okay, and now I'm a South Winneshiek truther. So let's talk about them. Week 1, they take, huh?
I said Kyle Kubitschek.
Kyle Kubitschek?
Yeah, South Win.
Oh, yeah. I'm getting ready to talk about it.
There you
go. Not much passing here for Winneshiek, just 10 attempts. But when he does pass, sorry, this is Braden Todd. I forgot to say his name. Braden Todd, just 10 passing attempts. When he is throwing it, 145 yards and 2 touchdowns, really solid work out of him. Kyle Kubitschek, previously mentioned, 175 yards on 20 carries and 3 touchdowns. You want to talk about a great start to the season. That is proof in the pudding right there. They took the win last week against Sumner Fredericksburg, 42-30. They're taking on North Butler this week. I think as long as the Warriors just take care of business and play like they did in the first week, I think they'll have no trouble here. So I'll take the Warriors for a week 2 win. My dog this week got Wapsie Valley taking on East Buchanan. Historically, looking at this on paper, Wapsie Valley has dominated the series 7-2 according to Bound since 2008. East Buchanan won it last year. I think the odds, obviously rankings wise, are in favor of East Buchanan. However, I think that Wapsie Valley might catch their number this year again, like they have. Caleb Hogan, their quarterback, he went 150 yards and a touchdown. Hunter Curley, ooh, I like that name. Hunter Curley, rushing wise, was really leading the way for this offense, had 178 yards and 2 touchdowns. Buccaneers, really solid start to the season. They're looking like they're going to be a really good team in the class this year. However, I think Wapsie Valley will give them a good enough challenge. And obviously, you find a team on the right night, crazy things can happen. And I'll take the Warriors to make that happen.
Yeah, I'll throw a freebie out here for the Warrior fans watching. I mean, East Buchanan, number 16 in the Class A pool. Wapsie Valley is number 19, so they're right there. So a win here is definitely going to vault you into the top 16. So that should be a really fun matchup in Class A. We'll move on to 8-man, our last picks for the day. I am going to go with the Dons in a bounce back spot. Tough loss to Iowa Valley last week. Tucker Youngblood, Ty Christensen and company, I think, are going to bounce back here. They got West Central. My dog, one of the more underrated rivalries in the state of Iowa, Lennox, Bedford, these teams are number 9 and number 10 in the rankings. I am not going to lie to you. If Lennox was lower ranked, I probably would have gone with them just because 8-man, it is tough to find dogs to pick here. But I am going to go with Bedford, and because they're lower ranked, I'm all in on Bedford. Huge rivalry here. Lennox dominated last year, but no Gabe Funk for Lennox. This team lost to Woodbine last week. I'm talking about Lennox. And for Bedford, it's a team that's going to run the football a lot. Ashton Alley, Quentin Dalton leading a run-heavy offense. And I'm expecting this one to be within possession. Last week was a rare blowout as far as this rivalry goes. But I think we're going to go back to these crazy games. If you just look at the matchup history on Bedford and Lennox, it feels like every single year it is really, really close. So I'm going to take Bedford in a close one between two 8-man ranked teams. I think we only have a few ranked versus ranked 8-man matchups this week compared to last week where it felt like we had like 5. So I'm going to go with Bedford here, Nick.
Yeah, I would have appreciated if the ADs would have kind of scheduled that out a little bit better so we had more ranked matchups to pick throughout the year. That was a crazy week of 8-man. I loved that. Anyway, my lock for this week, I'm going to go with Gladbrook Rhinebeck, a team that I was already looking for as one of the top teams in the class ahead of the season, and they proved that with their big 55-0 win against Janesville. Janesville, another ranked team in 8-man, not only putting up 55 on that team, but also shutting them out is impressive in and itself. They're taking on Meskwaki Settlement this week. Like I've mentioned before, if you can take care of business like that against Janesville, just keep doing what you're doing, and I think that you can get a win here against Meskwaki Settlement. My dog for this week, I'm going to go Boyer Valley. Correct me, you did pick against them last week, correct?
Oh, thanks for reminding me, Nick. My lock did lose to Boyer Valley last week. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So they're going to be my dog this week. Starting the season 2-0. They beat Newell Fonda. They beat Arweva. They beat Cade in his lock. And I think this week when they play Fremont Mills, they will beat them too. Rushing is definitely Boyer Valley's game. Brody Koski, a junior, I hope I said that right, sorry, 300 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. Are you kidding me? You put up a game like that against a team like Fremont Mills, you're going to give their defense a really tough time, and you're going to give yourself a really good chance to win. So give me the Bulldogs for an upset, 3-0 for them.
There you have it. And yes, I am putting the old Boyer Valley logo. I am not putting the new one on there. The old, sorry, Boyer Valley people. This Bulldog logo is peak. I'm wondering if they were more forced to go on. I think that's the Samford Bulldog. If that's correct, then I just know ball. But maybe that's why they had to switch to the BV. But I was very sad on Bound when I clicked on there and I saw the Boyer Valley Bulldog was gone. But I still have it, so you can't get rid of it. But no, that was a fun week. That was a fun week of locks and dogs. We hope you guys enjoyed, and we hope you guys enjoy your Friday night. Again, tune in, IAfootball. We will have scores across the entire state of Iowa, and then usually Saturday we have those recaps of games that the video guys were at. This week, looks like I'm going to be at Newton North Polk. We're going to have Roland Story, Des Moines Christian. Eric is going to be at Mount Vernon and Benton, and then Nick, pending approval, Southeast Polk Liberty. So those are the 4 games we will have highlights on Saturday, Sunday, sometime during the weekend. So it's a great way to just enjoy some high school football and support us just by watching the video. So appreciate everyone for tuning in. Excited to see how these picks go. And Nick, I will see you next Thursday.
I'll see you then.